All right, let's just jump right into a huge one. It's a classic sci-fi idea, it's a philosopher's dream, and yeah, maybe a bit of a nightmare too. What would really happen if all 195 nations on Earth just dissolved, and we all became one single unified country?
So first, let's talk about the dream scenario. Just picture it. You could wake up in Paris, work a remote job that's based in Seoul, and then go on vacation down in Peru, all without ever pulling out a passport. The entire planet just becomes one big community.
And the thinking goes, right, that with one government, we could finally have one shared goal, a single human identity, focused on, well, keeping our species going and thriving on this one planet we all have to share.
But is that really what we get? Or does that kind of ultimate unity just open the door for the ultimate form of control? And that's the real tension here, and that's what we're going to dig into.
Okay, so let's start on the sunny side, the optimistic case. The people who are for this, they argue a world government isn't just some nice-to-have idea. Nope, they say it's an absolute necessity for our very survival.
And they point to this list of problems that are, well, they're global, they're existential. We're talking about things that don't care about the lines we draw on maps, right? Climate change, pandemics. As long as we're just a bunch of competing countries, it's kind of like trying to put out a massive forest fire with a bunch of tiny squirt guns. The whole argument is that our current system just isn't built for the size of the problems we're facing now.
And this quote, man, it really gets to the heart of it. The point isn't that it would be easy. It's that it might be the only way it's even possible. For the folks who are behind this, a world government is the only tool in the toolbox big enough to save us from ourselves.
But here's the thing. To create something that powerful, you got to give something up. And that leads us to some huge social questions, starting with a really big one: culture.
I mean, just think about this for a second. If we all spoke one language, sure, communication would be a breeze. But a language, it's so much more than just words, you know? It's history, it's art, it's humor, it's a whole unique way of seeing the world. So, what do we lose? What gets erased when we all start talking and maybe even thinking in the exact same way?
Well, this leads to something called standardization, and you can actually see it happening already in things like education, with all this push for global standards. The idea is to make everything the same, uniform. But the risk? The big risk is losing that incredible, messy, wonderful diversity that makes our world, well, our world.
And critics are quick to point out that this kind of standardization, it doesn't just happen on its own. It's an active process. It promotes one way of thinking, one dominant culture, over every other one. Which leads to the billion-dollar question, right? Whose culture becomes the default setting for humanity?
Okay, so even if we could somehow figure out the whole culture puzzle, the question of who's actually in charge and how they govern is where the practical problems just become mind-boggling.
We're talking about over 8 billion people. 8 billion. That's 8 billion different needs, different beliefs, different opinions on everything. How could any single democratic system, how could it possibly represent everyone fairly? It's just a staggering scale.
This actually brings up a really interesting concept from political science: rational ignorance. It's already a thing in big countries today. Basically, if your one single vote has almost zero chance of changing the outcome, it's rational to not spend tons of time researching every single issue. Now just scale that up. Imagine your vote is 1 out of 8 billion. Why would you bother? The motivation to be an informed citizen just evaporates for pretty much everybody.
And here's a major reality check. The world, well, it isn't actually moving toward more unity. It's going the other way. Look at this chart. It's based on data from the Global Peace Index, and it shows the number of countries with real geopolitical clout. Back in the 70s, just a handful. Today, we're talking dozens. So, we're actually living in an age of global power fragmentation, not coming together. Which brings us to the final, and maybe the scariest paradox of all. The very thing that would give a world government the power to do so much good is the exact same thing that could make it the biggest threat humanity has ever faced.
I mean, on the one hand, you've got this incredible promise of total cooperation. Just think about it. All the trillions we spend on military budgets around the world, redirected to clean energy or healthcare. No more trade wars, just everyone working together, sharing innovations to help everybody. But then there's the other side of that coin. As the Cato Institute points out, if a government with that much power goes bad, it's not just a local problem.
it becomes a global tyranny, and there would be absolutely nowhere left to run.
See, throughout all of human history, we've had this really powerful escape hatch against tyranny. It's called foot voting. It's simple. If your government becomes oppressive, you can vote with your feet and leave. It's a basic check on power, and it has literally saved millions of people.
But in a single world state, that safety valve is gone. Completely. Where are you going to go? The moon? It means we'd be putting all of our eggs, all of humanity's eggs, into one single political basket. And if that basket drops, it's game over for everyone.
So all of this, it all leads to a final and much more personal question. Forget politics and economics for a second. What would all this mean for you, for your very identity?
I mean, really, if someone asked you where you're from, what would you even say? Would being Brazilian or Nigerian or French just fade away, replaced by this one single identity, human? And is that something we even want?
So here's the trade-off, plain and simple. On one side, you have the unique histories, languages, traditions, all the things that make up our national identities. And on the other, you have a bigger identity, one based on the things we all share. You know, this planet, our species, our shared future.
And that's really the ultimate dilemma, isn't it? Is it even possible to create true, meaningful unity without first just bulldozing all the beautiful, complex, and yeah, sometimes messy differences that make us who we are?
So maybe, just maybe, we're asking the wrong question entirely. Maybe it's not about whether we should have a single world government. Maybe the real work's figuring out how we can understand each other better right now, from the ground up. Because at the end of the day, unity without understanding, that's not real unity at all, is it?